Hi Scorpio, welcome to your August 2020 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. This is great. I did pick an additional final card because the Nine of Swords is not something that I typically end with. But we have on our hands here a dilemma in August. Or you could even include late July if this is something that is already happening for you. The Two of Pentacles is a card of, in some cases it's not so much a choice, but just a lot on your plate. You're balancing your two jobs, work and school, taking care of a parent, and going to school or working. And sometimes this can be receiving a job offer that is far away, overseas. You know, they show the water. And that one is very interesting. Now, anytime that you get pentacles in a reading, and this is a general reading, you can interpret it as some sort of material matter. So whether it's something connected to money, that's like the biggie, or it's something connected to a job. Now the wands would be more of the career because you're injecting your own talents into it. The job is kind of like the 6th house versus the 10th house in a way. And it's kind of the nitty-gritty details. So the pentacles to me is the, are you employed type of thing. And did you get a job offer? It can be the money involved, it can be the health or the body, things like that. So practical matters. But there's some kind of, with the two, there's duality. So either somebody is having to choose between two things, and it's almost like pros and cons of each. So even like with relationships, this is a general reading, so I will entertain that line of thought, but it's not the only thing that I speak about with this combination, or this particular card. But looking at the past position, this can certainly be along the lines of a relationship, because this is a 6 of Cups. This is the card of the soulmate. And the soulmate, what is the soulmate? I mean, people think in terms of, oh, this is the person that you're meant to be with. But why is that the person that you're meant to be with? The cups relate to the water element. And the water element relates to emotions or feelings. Just like the pentacles relate to mundane or worldly matters, the earth element. The cups relate to the water or the emotions. The spiritual is part of water, symbolizes that as well, the intuition. And so a soulmate is somebody that you're not just, you don't just make a good team as a couple in terms of like almost like business partners where you really work well together. Maybe you even meet on the job and you just kind of are on the same page with making money or even raising children. You just, again, like the mundane affairs. And I realize that children aren't, that they are spiritual beings too, but just kind of like the daily grind sort of thing. And you have this great partner in life to help you do these things. This is more inspirational. So when you have cups, it's coming from the heart. And it may not be practical. It may not be a relationship where you function well together. Maybe you bring out the worst qualities in each other because you're both in la la land. Who knows? That's not the point. The point is that it's a meeting of the souls. Or if you have the swords, I hope I said a meeting of the souls, not the meeting of the swords. If I had swords here, it would be a meeting of the minds. That people have this intellectual rapport, but they may not have that practical side, So every couple has their own language or their own intelligence. And some of this is going to be challenges, some of this is going to be plus side, And so with the Six of Cups, there may be the one that got away, the person that you always are pining away for, that you were separated from, maybe by parents when you were a teenager, maybe by distance, going to different colleges, who knows? Or they moved away when you were in high school, who knows? Sometimes, because time has elapsed, the legend can grow and the nostalgia can take on a life of its own. So with the Six of Cups, there can be this almost like a fantasy that has been projected onto the situation. So I don't want to just act like in every single case that a person that you've pined away for, Scorpio, is really the person that is the same person that you remember, because you have, if enough time has passed, you have both grown and you may be in completely different places now. And certainly if you were teenagers, you're going to be different if you're in your 30s, for instance. It just is going to be, the case. But even like in terms of the type of work that you're doing, I had somebody, I don't know if they were talking to me or I was just reading it somewhere online, but I read a comment where somebody, I think it was to somebody else, and they said, I don't know what I want to do or something, or I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, talking about their life path. And that always intrigues me, because I don't believe that for a second. I believe that a lot of people know what they would like to do, but they simply don't think it is feasible. They don't think that they can survive doing that, whatever that thing is. And so that is something that I feel very strongly about, that it's important to devote energy into this pursuit of finding out what it is that you're meant to do. And this was not an intended plug, but I do have life path readings that I look at your chart if you are in that place. And I have a lot of fun doing those readings, because I think more than anything they validate people's longings. And I had the same thing happen to myself when I learned how to read my own chart before I started doing this, because this was just a hobby that I was very passionate about, and I never entertained the notion of either working for myself or doing this type of work. It just kind of came about. But in retrospect, I can see that I was preparing for it all along. I just didn't know it, And so I've been there. I totally understand. And I think that the people that are the most lost are the people who are creative and into the spiritual side of things, because they're never or rarely encouraged to pursue those types of lifestyles, because to me they're like pretty much the same type of lifestyle. They're outside of the norm, and you have to have a certain amount of strength to be able to pursue that in a way that's not apologetic, where you're not, defending yourself. You don't feel like you're doing something wrong or weird, bad, whatever. But there was something else. I wasn't planning on saying that, and there was something else I wanted to say, and I'm afraid I might have lost that thought, so I hope I regain it. But I would just, I'll just reiterate that if you have been thinking about your life and you are at a crossroads about what you want to do, but you feel like, I don't know what I want to do, think about when you were a child, because that's what the Six of Cups is all about, is about this idea of, what have been passions of mine all along. And they may not be exactly what they are now, but there were like these, there still is like this, this central theme, perhaps. And that can be the launching pad of deciding what it is. And the higher message, which is kind of like the spiritual perspective, is the Page of Wands. I'm going to just, I've been a tarot reader now for 5 years, but I'm primarily an astrologer. And I approach the tarot kind of in a linear fashion, just like, okay, this is the meaning of the card, so I'm going to read it like that. I'm becoming much more connected intuitively to this, and so I trust what I say. I always analyze what I think. Maybe it's having a moon in Virgo, always needing to kind of parse my thoughts, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And the first thing that came into my mind was this idea of, now I forgot what came into my mind. I've been forgetting, this is the first reading I'm doing of the day, so my brain is on pause. But it was something, I think it was kind of like this idea of, because pages are messages. And so it's even the message to yourself. Follow your bliss, I would say. Okay, because wands is fire energy. Why, when we say light, you light my fire, what are we saying when we say fire? We're saying enthusiasm, a zeal, they call it, a zest for living, okay? When you're going into a job every day that you hate, and this does apply to Scorpio because you are you're a water sign, so that in and of itself is going to cause you to approach life from the emotional side of things. But in addition to that, when you are someone who is, very, I think of Scorpio as very extreme. Either you really like something or you're indifferent to it. If you're indifferent to what you're doing, or I think even more so, with the pentacles in the centerpiece, I think it's more of being in survivalist mode. The wands, the fire, is more risk-taking. So it's like comfort versus risk. And which one are you willing? Are you willing to settle for a life of comfort, or maybe more joy, but less guarantees? Fire can be wild. It's untamed. You can't necessarily control it without a great amount of effort. And I feel like life is meant to be lived, is not meant, some people are even planning their own funerals. I heard a commercial on the radio, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. They said, don't be buried in a pauper's grave. It's like, why would you care about where you're buried since you're already dead? And of course you're not dead, but you know what I mean. But this is just a sales ploy to appeal to our egos. And so the thing is, it's like this world, and that's what I also associate with the Pentacles, is this constant drumbeat of fear-mongering and, what if, but also appeals to the lower side of ourselves with the ego wanting to be held up as something special, but in a superficial way, because we are special. So, Page of Wands. What can you begin in August, Scorpio, that will light your fire? Doesn't have to be something grandiose. It can be something that has that personal imprint of you, though. That is the important thing. That's what fire, the message of fire. Yeah, maybe that might be what I should call this reading, the message of fire. What is the lesson of it? The lesson is, because we have these are fire cards too. The message of fire is about freedom, independence, autonomy. And really, if you think about, and creativity. And I'm sure that there are many, many Scorpios who are creative in one way or the other. And if you're not exercising your creativity, you're going to create drama. You're going to create something, you're going to create, that's the other thing too, is like, when people do not create works of art, then they make babies. And it's okay to make babies, and that's a creative effort too, but you want to do that intentionally. You don't want to, create, the human spirit wants to be creative, but we want to be creative in a way that is beneficial to everyone. And so bringing children into this world is a beautiful thing, but being as intentional as possible, and even if the conception is not something that was expected, but then taking it from there and putting a lot of personal energy into it as a creative project, and stoking your children's creativity, because that's another thing. I was like, why am I talking about creating children? But the Six of Cups is about children. So maybe my tongue is ahead of the game, and my mind, and my rational mind is shutting things down. I need to stop allowing my rational mind to take over in these readings. Okay. So maybe it's like news that you're going to have a child. Who knows? Start spreading the news. Page of Swords. Good news on the horizon. I usually don't read that spiritual message as a mundane interpretation, so I look at it at the higher level of how it can benefit you spiritually. And that's why I say starting a creative project, which can include starting your own business. That is a form of creativity as well. What crosses you is the Wheel of Fortune. I wonder how many Scorpios have felt like you haven't felt aligned in some way. I'm just reading it by what this card represents. This card is connected to Jupiter. But you know what? It could simply mean Jupiter is retrograde, and maybe, especially if you have Sagittarius rising, Scorpio, look out for that, because you are ruled by Jupiter, and that means that you have to take into account the transit of Jupiter, and seeing if, when it's retrograde, that might be a time when it's harder to manifest. I don't know. I really don't like talking like that, because I want people to take action when they feel like they have to, no matter what an astrologer tells you, to just do it. Because what is the worst thing that can happen? If it's not something that's high stakes, it's not the end of the world. But sometimes timing is everything, and that can be your best friend. So it all depends on, but the timing can go either way. It can be your intuitive timing that is outside of the matrix, in some cases, and the the worldly variety, you know. We do have rush hours, and it is, if you can avoid traveling during 4 to 6 p.m., then it's not about luck, it's just about logic, you know. So what's coming in is the Queen of Wands, something that makes you feel more in control of your life. Well, it's not so much in control of your life, but feeling like confident, Scorpio. So what could that possibly be that is going on? The Queen can be the mother. So if, like, for instance, you have been with your child a lot more, or children a lot more lately because of the shutdown, you may have become attached. Perhaps you were, working outside the home exclusively, and I don't mean this in a bad way, were forced due to circumstances to stay at home, and you really liked being, with your kids all the time, and you don't want to be away from them, and you realize how important that is. This is the card of the working mother, the career woman. So it doesn't sound like you have to sacrifice anything to be that. I don't know how that connects to the Two of Pentacles, if that means moving to accept a new job and, thinking of the children at the same time. In other cases, this can be this sense of being your own person, because with the Six of Cups, that sense of nostalgia can sometimes put us back in a place where we feel like we are kids again. So maybe you're even visiting your parents with the Six of Cups, or you have been, and that has been, and something about that has led to a decision that you have to make, maybe moving back to your hometown or something. And the Queen of Wands, would suggest that you are fully into yourself as an adult. So maybe you had a moment of vulnerability and you snapped out of it. I don't know. There's an air of authority with the Queen of Wands, but it's not coming from a negative place. It's actually a very warm card. This card is supposed to connect to Sagittarius. I connect it to Leo, another fire sign. The other fire sign is Aries, because she's holding a sunflower, and because I think of kings and queens as royalty and therefore associated with Leo. That's just how I've always done it. I don't know if there are so-called tarot experts who ever place the Queen of Wands with Leo, but I just think of like Leo as being kind of regal, wanting that dignity and that respect. And so you, for whatever reason, are embodying this. And so this is what I wanted to end the reading with, these two cards, which are kind of interesting. So the outcome, the Nine of Swords. Now this is a card of anxiety. So here we had all these great things, and then we have this card. Why? Well, I picked an additional card, the Sun card. This is the card of love. This is a card associated with Leo. So could that Page of Wands be a new relationship with a Leo? Leo is that sign that Scorpios are attracted to like a moth to the flame. Pardon the pun, because it's a fire sign. But this is a card of a catch-all, beautiful experience. And this might be a timing card because it's interesting. This is number 19. And we're actually having a new moon in Leo on the 18th of August. And so this is going to fall in your 10th house of career, Scorpio. So this is a new moon in that area. That could be new developments with career in August. And because of some of these other cards, it seems like that bodes well for that. But the Sun card is also the card of love. It's the card of joy. So again, follow your bliss. It's a card of children. So it's another card of children. The Queen can be the mother. The Sun card is a card of children, of joy, of all that. So there might be some news about children. If you are past the age of reproducing, maybe it's grandchildren, because maybe your child, which is a Six of Cups, has created another child, and you're hearing the news about it, and it's very happy news for you. Success is the Sun card. Success in business, success in your endeavors. And what is that anxiety, though? Why would you have anxiety when you have these good cards? I'm going to look back at the... Yep. Okay, here it goes. I was going to say I'm going to look back to that Six of Cups. The Six of Cups, somebody told me that the Six of Cups was connected to Scorpio, and I have always thought it was Cancer, and I looked it up, and the first thing I saw was Scorpio. But I'm sorry, Scorpio, I'm going to give this to Cancer because it represents the past. This is all about what Cancer is about children, the family of origin, or childhood. That's the 4th house. That's Cancer's house. You're the 8th house, and you're more of the psychological depths than something to do. But you can be about the past too. All the water houses can be about the past. But I just think that this is connected to Cancer. So the interesting thing about this is that at the beginning of August, there is a full moon, I believe at 11 degrees of Aquarius. And guess what house Aquarius is for you, Scorpio? The 4th house of home and family. So that might be the trigger point, what brings up something from the past, including emotions that you've deeply buried about this, that are coming up to be purged, And one of those things can be about the one that got away from your hometown. The 4th house is your roots. So that can definitely bring up anxiety, but it doesn't, but see, it's flanked by 2 sunny, fiery cards. So it's just kind of like a passing blip. It doesn't mean anything permanent. And you don't have to cling to it to experience the joy that is yours for the taking in August. Okay, Scorpio, that's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.